Hi viewers, welcome to my channel. Today I will make you to learn how to define static variables in Java as well as what are the important points that we have to remember with respect to the static variables. So here the static variables are class specific variables. You can access them directly at anywhere in the class. That means the static variables you can access them in the static context as well as the non-static context. So in order to access the static variables, the three methodologies that we are going to follow here is the first methodology is the member name. If it is a variable, you can directly access it at anywhere in the program with the help of variable name. Or otherwise, the static variables you can access them with the help of class name also. Class name dot member name. Here the member name is nothing but variable name. And if you want to call the static variable with the help of object also, there is no problem. You can create the object of the class with the help of the object also. You can access the variable. So these are the three methodologies that we are using in order to access the static variables. And here the static variables are class specific variables so that you can access them at anywhere in the program. It may be static context or non-static context. And out of all these three methodologies, the best methodology and the recommended methodology is always try to access the static variables with the help of class name dot variable name or member name. Why? Because if is there any naming ambiguity in between local variables and class level variables, class level static variables, in order to distinguish in between class level and local variables, it is always remember and it is always recommended to access the class level static variables with the help of class name dot member name. Don't worry, this point I will discuss while at the time of describing the local variables importance in the Java program. Now, so how to define the static variables in the given program? That is the most important concern. So the static variables are class level variables, so that we need to define it in the class level context. Let me try to take one program. So here we have a sample class is there. Within the sample class main method is available. In this sample class, static variables are always defining in the class level only. So here the line number 3, 4, 5 are in the class level and we have one main method is also available. Now in this class level only we have to define the static variable. Now in order to define the static variable, we have to use the keyword static. Static int a equal to 10. That means here we are defining one variable a. The variable name is a. The data type of the variable is integer and the nature of this variable is static variable. So here the a variable is static variable. Now how to access this static variable? As per the description given by me, the static variable you can access it with the help of variable name directly or class name dot variable name or object reference dot variable name. That too, the static variables you can access them in the both the static context as well as the non-static context. Non-static in the sense instance context. At anywhere you can access it. Now try to access the static variable in the static context. How to access it? Very simple. Try to take one system.out.println statement and try to print that variable. Here I am using member name syntax. The member name is a. No problem. The static variable you can access directly in the static context. There is no problem. If I am going to compile this program, try to check it. There is no problem. Well, at the time of running this program, we are getting 10. Or otherwise, the static variable you can access it with the help of class name also. Here the class name is sample, so that's sample dot a. There is no problem. Here I am using the second methodology, class name dot member name. So this is also correct. Let me try to compile it and run it. There is no problem. Or if you want to create the object of the class with the help of object also you can access. How to create the object of the class? Very simple. Here the class name is sample, sample s equal to new sample. Here I am taking one reference variable s. Within that reference variable s, I am trying to create the object of the class sample. Now with the help of this object of the class also you can access the static variable. You can use any one of the methodology, no problem. Here now I am using the object reference. With the help of object reference I am trying to access the static variable. No problem. Try to check it now. Java C sample.java Java sample. So with the help of object you can access it, or otherwise Simply with the help of member name without using object also you can access it. There is no problem. Try to check it. Let me try to compile and run it so that you will get the clarity. In the two statements we are getting the static variable value, or otherwise with the help of class name dot member name also, sample dot a. So all these three possibilities are correct. There is no problem. You can use any one of the methodology. Any one of the methodology. So for all these methodologies we are getting the same answer. But it is always recommended to use class name dot member name. If it is a static variable, always try to use class name dot member name. Why I am saying class name dot member name means, for example, let me try to remove all these constraints. So in this particular main method, if is there any local variable a is available and the value of the local variable a is 5. Here this a is not a class level variable, it is a local variable with respect to the main method. And whenever we are trying to access a variable here, just I am using the member name, then it will give the preference to the local variable. Here we are going to get the local variable value 5, not the value from the static variable. Try to check it. 5 we are getting, it is the local variable value. But I don't want to access the local variable value. I want to get the class level static variable value. At that time what we have to do, there is no alternative. We need to use either object of the class or otherwise you need to use the class name. So the class name is sample dot a, in the sense now we are not at all calling the local variable a, we are calling the class level sample dot a, in the sense the class level a variable, so that the output that we are going to get here is 10. Try to check it now. Java C sample dot Java Java sample 10 we are getting as the answer. So whenever there is a naming ambiguity in between local variable and as well as the class level static variable, at that time it is always recommended to use the class name dot variable name in order to access the class level variable, or otherwise we are going to get local variable value. For example, there is no local variable means no problem. So in this main method there is no local variable. At that time we need not require class name. Directly you can call a, so that it will check first. JVM will check is there any local variable a is available in the main method. Nothing is available in the main method. Only we are having one output statement is available. Due to that reason, so directly it will check is there any class level static variable is available or not. Yes, class level static variable a is available, so that the output that we are getting here is 10. Try to check it now. Java C sample dot Java Java sample, we are getting 10 here. So like that, whenever there is a naming ambiguity, at that time only we have to use class name dot member name. Not only with respect to the naming ambiguity, it is always best recommended way to call the class level static variables with the help of class name only. Sample dot a, it is the best recommended way. Java C sample dot Java Java sample. So the output that we are getting here is 10. So with this we have successfully proved the first point. Static variables are the class specific variables. You can directly access them at anywhere in the class. That is nothing but in the static block as well as in the non-static block. Let me try to define one non-static block. Now, for example, within the same class sample, let me try to define one non-static block. Void my method. So here there is no static keyword while at the time of defining this method. Due to that reason, this method will become non-static method. So the method within the method definition without having static keyword, we can call it as non-static method. Now non-static method in the sense it is a instance specific method. Let us assume within this instance specific method I am trying to access static variable. In the instance method I am accessing the static variable directly. Is there any problem? No. Why? Because static variable means it is a class specific variable. You can access it in the static method as well as non-static method. There is no doubt at all. Now let me try to call that non-static method. Without calling the non-static method, it is not possible to access it directly. Without invoking the method is not at all coming into the picture. Now how to call this my method? It is a non-static method. It is an instance method. If you want to call it from the static method, definitely we have to create the object of the class. Let me try to create the object of the class. Without creating the object of the class, if I am trying to call this my method, what will happen? It is not acceptable. Why? Because this my method is non-static method. We should not access it directly from the static context. Non-static or instance members are not accessible directly within the static context. Try to check it now. So within the line number 14 we are going to get error. So non-static method my method cannot be referenced from the static context directly. Then what we have to do? So we have to create the object of the class sample s equal to new sample. So with the help of the object of the class, you can call the object specific method. So s dot my method. My method is a object specific or non-static method. So that it will invoke this my method. In the my method, even though it is non-static method, there is no problem. You can directly access the static variable. So here I am accessing the static variable a, so that the output is 10. So 110 is coming from the main method related output, and the another 10 we are getting it from the my method invocation. In the my method we are getting the static variable value 10 here. So due to that reason only we are getting two tens. Please keep this point within your mind. If is there any naming ambiguity in between local variable of the my method and as well as the static variable, at that time if you want to access the static variable value, that means class level static variable value, try to use class name dot variable name. That is the best conventional methodology. Now here I have successfully proved the first point. Static variable, you can access it at anywhere in the program. It is accessible in the static context as well as non-static context. So in our program we have static main method is available, non-static my method is available. In the two methods, in the two context, I am accessing the static variable. So let me try to remove this code now. Let me try to go to the next point. It is static variable is always shareable among all the objects of the class. So the nature of the static variable is it is shareable among all the objects of the class. That means if you want to update the value of the static variable in one object, then that updated value will be definitely reflecting upon the remaining all the objects of the class. Here the meaning is static variable is shareable among all the objects of the class. Shareability in the sense, with respect to the one object, if you are going to update the static variable value, that updated value will be reflecting upon the remaining all the objects. Whereas if you are going to take instance variable, this point is completely quite contradictory. Instance variables are object specific variables only. If you want to see the previous video, please watch it so that you will get the complete idea. So instance variables are object specific. If you are going to update the instance variables in one object, that updated value is with respect to that object only. It is not possible to access it in the another object. Whereas static variables, those are shareable among all the objects of the class. If you are going to update it in one object, that updated value will be reflecting upon the remaining all the objects. So for this, let me try to prove it with the help of example. So in this example, I am taking one static variable. Now let me try to take the object of the class sample s equal to new sample. So now with the help of the s object, I am trying to access the static variable s dot a. Is there any problem? No problem. Why? Because static variables you can access them with the help of the object of the class also. Definitely you will get 10 here. So try to check the output now. So with the help of object I am trying to access the static variable. No problem, you will get the output. And with respect to the s object, if you are trying to update the static variable s dot a equal to 20, and if I am trying to print with the help of the same object, what will happen? Now within the s object we are updating the a variable, so that the updated value will be 20 here. Why? Because we are printing with respect to the same object, and with the help of the same object we have already updated that a value. The updated value we are getting here is 20. Try to check it now. Java C sample.java Java sample. So the updated value that is with respect to the S object is 20. Now let me try to take the object reference in the format of string. So with respect to the S, the A value, here also with respect to the S only, that means S object only, we are printing A value. Now let me try to take one more object, sample S1 equal to new sample. Now here the point is, what is the value of A with respect to the new object S1, S1.A. S1 with respect to the S1.A, what is the expected output? Are you going to get 10 or 20? So here static variable is shareable among all the objects. If you are going to update the static variable with respect to the one object, the updated value is retaining for the remaining all objects. So actually here in this program we have updated the static variable A with respect to the S object, and the updated value is 20. Now if you are going to take one new object S1, with respect to the S1, we are going to get the updated value of the static variable A. The updated value is 20. So here with respect to the S1 object, here the updated value that is from the previous object is 20. That is getting here. Try to check it now. Java C sample.java Java sample. Now with respect to the S, initial value of A is 10. It is a static variable. With respect to the same S object, I am updating it. Due to that reason we are getting 20. And whenever I am going to take one new object S1, with respect to the S1 also we are getting the updated value. The reason is static variable is shareable among all the objects. If you are going to update it in one object, that updated value will be reflecting upon the remaining objects. So whereas if you are going to take it as a normal instance variable instead of static, let me try to remove it. It will become instance variable now. It is not static. So here it will become non-static. It is also class level variable. It is the another kind of variable. Already I have discussed this variable importance in the previous video. Now whenever it is an instance variable, if you are going to update it with the help of one object, that updated value will be available with respect to that object only. It is not reflecting upon the another object. Now with respect to this non-static variable, the output will be different. Try to check it. So with respect to the S, we are updating the non-static variable 10 into 20. That updated non-static variable will be available with respect to the S object only. It is not reflecting upon the new object S1. In the S1 again we are getting the 10 only. That is the main difference in between static variables and non-static variables. Non-static variables are shareable among all the objects of the class. Please remember it. If you are going to update them in the one object, that updated value will be reflecting upon the all the objects. So with this I have successfully proved the second point also. What is the third point? Can you please observe? If you are not assigning any value to the static variable at the time of declaration, whatever the data type that is available, as per the data type, the default value will be printing. As like instance variables in the class level, if you are trying to define static variable, while at the time of declaration of the static variable, without assigning any value to that variable, you will get the default value of the data type associating with it. Now let me try to prove it with the help of example. So I am defining one static variable in the sample class, but while at the time of defining the static variable, I did not assign any value. Just I am declaring one a variable, and which is of the type of static, and the data type of the a variable is integer. Now whenever I am trying to use it, what will happen? Without assigning any value, what is the value that we are going to get? So let me try to print a here. So static variable without assigning any value, what kind of data type that is associating, as per the data type the default value will be printing. So here the data type that is associating with the static variable is integer, so that the integer default value is 0, that will be printed here. As like instance variables, for the static variables also same process. So without assigning any value, as per the data type, you will get the default value. The default value of the integer is 0. If I am going to take it is a floating point number, you will get the floating point value. Try to check it. 0.0. The default value of the float is 0.0. If I am going to take boolean, you will get false. The default value of the boolean is false. Without assigning any value, you will get the default value false. So like that, here without assigning any value, it will automatically take a default value of the data type that is associating with the given variable. With this, I hope you got the complete idea regarding how to define static variables, what are the ways to access the static variable, what is the nature of the static variable with respect to the objects, as well as without assigning any value, while at the time of declaring the variable without assigning any value, what is the output that we are getting from the static variable. So I have successfully completed all the points, and in the next class I will give one real-time example where we are going to use the static variable and what is the actual importance of the static variables. So thank you one and all. With this I am going to wind up the session.